Every world hides its shadows. In Dark Souls, it was the Abyss, in Bloodborne, it was the Hunt, and in Elden Ring, it's the lands between itself. A land of golden light, endless grace, but when you walk its roads too long, the cracks show. You see that beauty is only surface deep. You see that heroes are stitched from corpses, that love becomes ritual, and that entire bloodlines are fed into furnaces for gods that never answer. So in this video, we'll map the disturbing moments of Elden Ring, from subtle betrayals to the cosmic and ceremonial, from a petty thief who steals your corpse to a demigod who chants his brother's name in blood. Most players remember their first boss deaths, the frustration, the cheeky revenge, but Elden Ring's first subtler harm comes not from a sword, but from seeing a human being taken apart and left to shuffle. In Stormveil, the grafted soldiers are the first inkling the world isn't just broken, it's been forcibly resembled. Picture this: you walk into a courtyard expecting a standard enemy. Instead, you see a soldier with two shoulders where one should be, a mouth sewn into a neck, and an arm that ends in a half-hand clutching nothing. He breathes, he blinks, he moves like a puppet with a thread missing. He looks wrong in a way that makes your skin prickle. The design choice here is perfect. They're not grotesque for spectacle, they're grotesque because they're mundane, existing as if someone simply forgot to take them off the stage after a bad show. When a house seeks to prove its right to rule, it may do so with war, with law, or with lineage. Godric the Grafted chose a more literal route, to graft power onto his body. The grafted soldiers you meet in Stormveil are not mere shock design, they are the quiet evidence of a ruling philosophy. Godric is a failure among demigods, laughed at by his betters. His response? There's still strength. Graft people. And then we meet gotoc, if I'm saying his name right. He's a small character moment that feels like a slap. You die, he appears. The world seems polite. And then you realize he looted your corpse. That tiny theft is a reminder that the world itself is working against you in petty ways. He actually stalks you too in this level several times. Those early moments set a tone. The horror is not loud, it's a slow, instant itch. You'll catch yourself watching NPCs differently after this. The game trains your brain to think, if that's okay, what else is hiding? And gotoc isn't just greedy, his betrayal is tied to the castle itself. He's a bottom feeder, scavenging from Godric's scraps. In a realm obsessed with glory, his way of surviving is parasitic. He's the human echo of the grafted soldiers, taking pieces from the fallen just to keep going. Section 2 is where the world leans in and speaks into your ear. The Dung Eater is a masterclass in how a simple line can reframe an entire playthrough. I will defile you. 3 words. Not I will kill you or I will curse. Defile. It implies contamination that outlives you. The word clings. Lore tells us his curse marks are seedbeds, literal nuts of defilement planted in corpses. His victims don't just die, they become vessels of despair that spread corruption into the world. Even in death, they serve his philosophy that existence itself should be soiled. It's not madness, it's ideology. You can feel it, it's a line that plays on more primitive fears than death. Fear of being made unnatural, of legacy corrupted. I waited for the game to explain itself in this situation. There was no explanation, just that line, like a rot-stained coin dropped into your pocket. Thea is a deathbed companion, an order of women tasked to lie with the dead, drawing vitality from corpses to ease their passing. Her blessing is borrowed strength from death itself. What feels tender is in fact ritual. You're not just held, you're rehearsed for burial. On the surface, she offers comfort. She grants you Baldachin's blessing, and the scene feels gentle. But the more you learn, the more that embrace reads like preparation for burial. Imagine being wrapped in a blanket by someone whose job is to catalog the dead. You'd appreciate the warmth, but also sense that you've been enrolled in a funeral before the flowers arrive. I like to imagine Fia making tea for corpses. It's wholesome if your teapot is a skull. Raya, or Zerayas, is another quiet tragedy. She's born a serpent but forced to wear human skin. Her quest line reveals her self-loathing, her horror at what she really is, and when she learns the truth about her family's cannibalistic cult, that her mother is the matriarch of those who feed themselves to the blasphemous serpent, her despair is so human, it hurts more than the monsters ever could. Ensha of the royal remains, silent invader in round table hold, lurking like a corpse until he suddenly turns on you. His armor is literally a rotting king's remains, disturbing because he embodies betrayal inside your safe hub. And the most brutal thing about him is his name. It means in Japanese, school building. Why they did that to him? Gideon Unfair, the all-knowing. His shift from mentor to backstabber adds unease. He uses knowledge as a weapon, literally sacrificing allies for his own schemes. His "I'll kill you to stop you from becoming Elden Lord" moment feels intimate and disturbing. This is what Elden Ring does best with its quieter NPCs. It uses kindness as a Trojan horse. The player's instincts to trust, to expect helpfulness from a gentle voice are weaponized. That shift from safe to suspect is where the game's psychological horror really starts to work. Now the game stops whispering. The abductor virgins are literal eating machines.
Where do you think you're going?
I was just...
No, you're not. You're going to the Krusty Krab...
Their Iron Maidens come alive, a medieval torture device reimagined as an enemy. The visual of their maw opening, the grinding of gears, the moment you realize you're not going to just lose HP, you're going to be consumed, is gut-wrenching. Sound design perfect. You hear metal, bone, the hollow thud of your character's own breath, and then silence. This game spits you out, but the memory stays. That's horror embedded into gameplay. The virgins are tied to the Academy of Raya Lucaria. They were once devices of study, meant to abduct, tarnished for experiments. What's worse than being killed by a monster? Being homework for a school that lost its morality. Then there are the Albinaurics, maybe the saddest enemies in the game. Croaking, hunched beings that look like humanity's failed projects. They don't feel like monsters so much as victims. When they swarm you, it's terror by numbers. But the design makes you pity them while you stab them. There is a cognitive dissonance there that sits on your chest after a long session. Albinaurics are artificial life. The first generation are frog-like, croaking, dying young. The second generation walk more like humans, but hollow, frail. Their whole existence is a reminder that in the lands between, life is manufactured, disposable. If you want a movie compression, Albinaurics are less zombie apocalypse and more islands of Dr. Moreau. Humans reshaped by someone else's experiments and left to rot. And then the basilisks. Their bug-eyed faces are fake. Their real eyes are small, hidden below. The giant cartoon eyes staring at you are evolutionary camouflage. They are trickery made flesh. And their breath carries death blight, the same curse that withered Godwin, the Prince of Death. Every time one croaks in a tunnel, you're hearing an echo of the lands between first true corpse. Revenants, chaotic spider-like corpses that glitch around like broken code. Their design is disturbing not just visually but mechanically. Unpredictable movement tapes into uncanny valley dread, created from broken fragments of human corpses, animated by course and frenzy. Their teleport-like movements aren't bugs, they're lore accurate. Their bodies are so twisted by course that they break reality itself. They embody corrupted rebirth. Players find them in ruins, suggesting they were once normal citizens, wrapped by rot and decay. They don't feel like enemies programmed to fight you, they feel like accidents of reality, like glitches made flesh. The fingers are divine conduits of the greater will. Fingercreepers are grotesque mockeries of this, animated severed hands that worship their foe's divinity. Their human scale makes them uncanny, but larger ones hint at ritual dismemberment. Their ambushes around Caria Mana and Insolriva suggest a curse or punishment linked to the two fingers, perhaps failed apostles who became nothing but crawling appendages. Disturbance? Their horror turned domestic. The thing you trust most, your own hand, suddenly haunts you. Maybe not that disturbing, but I just think that it's kind of disturbing in my opinion. Body horror becomes undeniable with Godric. This isn't just stitched limbs. This is a lord tearing living things apart and grafting them onto himself mid-battle. He screams something about lineage, about Godfrey, while his arms thrash like a man drawing on someone else's skin. Watch, he rips a dragon limb, sudden and smoking, and yanks it onto his shoulder. He's not majestic, he's just desperate, and that desire to become more, to feel an absence with someone else's flesh, is pitiful and terrifying. The omens living in the sewers are a different kind of horror. They're suicidal trash, exiled and hidden. Their horns, their gaunt faces, their shambling endurance. It's an indictment of how the world treats the other. The design is cruel because it asks you to sympathize, then punishes you for feeling that sympathy when you have to fight. The omens are born cursed, horns sprouting from their flesh. In Leyndell they're mutilated, imprisoned beneath the city in chains. Even Morgoth, the Omen King, hides his horns beneath holy wrappings. The sewers remind you horror isn't just monsters, it's cruelty disguised as order. Rykard chose his fate. He let the serpent consume him, and in return he consumed gods. His cry of is not metaphor, it's covenant. Disturbing not because he lost himself, but because he embraced monstrosity willingly. Millicent, child of a scarlet rot, is tragedy in slow motion. Every meeting shows her weaker, her body failing as her lineage asserts itself. She is millennia's mirror, both cursed by rot, both doomed to bloom into decay. She is proof that in this world, even bravery rots. After physical horror comes existential dread. Astul, the natural born of the void, is less an enemy and more an argument. The world is tiny, your victories are small, your life is brief. Astul's silhouette with its unnatural limbs and glittering skull communicates the cosmic indifference of the universe. When Astul rears back and the arena tilts into nothingness. You don't just dodge attacks, you sense your own smallness. That's a kind of fear Lovecraft wrote about. Not go, but insignificance. Astul destroyed an eternal city, wiping it from the surface, leaving its people buried in stone. Its presence whispers that humanity is small, civilization fragile, and the stars themselves indifferent. It is extinction given form. And then there is the frenzied flame. The three fingers don't offer power, they offer disillusion. They brand your body with writhing scars as if to tell the world you belong now, not to yourself, but to a burning thought. Madness here is contagious, and once you're marked, you're no longer a player. you're a carrier. Play it back in your head, your hands tremble, the brand glows, and your reflection in the puddle isn't you anymore. It's an echo with no eyes. The frenzied flame is not evil in the classic sense. It's mercy twisted. The idea that if suffering cannot be stopped, it should be erased entirely in fire. The three fingers brand you as prophet of oblivion. Its compassion turned inside out. The godskin apostles, their stretching, skin-thin bodies echo rituals of flaying and body worship. Disturbing because they see flesh as holy and wear it like vestments. Now the game shows you the full ceremonial face of the madness. Mithra, Lord of Frenzied Flame. Mithra once was a holy man, a figure of faith in the land of shadow. But when he beheld the frenzied flame, he did not merely worship it, he embraced it, body and soul. His devotion twisted into obsession. He bound the madness to himself, swallowing its heat until his own flesh began to melt like wax. His congregation followed, not out of choice, but compulsion. He whispered the flame into their ears like a scripture, until their eyes burst yellow and their minds dissolved into one endless scream. They became an extension of him, not believers, but fuel. By the time he crowned himself Lord of Frenzied Flame, Mithra was less man than conflagration, his body bloated, fused with his followers, a hive of suffering voices that never stopped shrinking inside him. His worship and wretchedness made flesh, the god of a faith that promises only madness. The horror of Mithra isn't just his form or even his power, it's the devotion it took to get there. A man who looked at the frenzied flame, heard its promise of unmaking and said, "Yes, burn me, burn us all."
Burn them all.
I actually wanted to talk a lot about the DLC, but I think I'll make another video about that one. I know that you guys might be surprised that I didn't add any characters from the DLC here, but this one had to be in here. Morg, Lord of Blood. Actually, to say Mikola, because Morg here is just a puppet. On the surface, Morg appears to crave dynasty. He seizes Mikola's cocoon and performs his bloody rites, but the DLC reveals a darker twist. Mikola has enchanted Morg, turning him into a pawn in a larger scheme to remake the gods. Morg's blood, chants and screams read like a lover's vow until the DLC pulls back the curtain. Mikola, not Morg, quietly pulls the strings, bewitching the Lord of Blood and using his violence as a sacrificial step toward deification. What looked like Morg's twisted devotion becomes stranger in the DLC. The abduction and ritual unfold as part of the plan in which Mikola's subtle influence makes Morg both predator and puppet. Millennia, Blade of Mikola. Beautiful, honorable, diseased. Her bloom is not victory, it's surrender. Each scarlet flower is her body failing spectacularly, and yet she wields that failure as a weapon. That paradox is disturbing, strength found only in decay. Godwin the Golden, the first demigod to die, but his soul perished while his body lived. Now he festers beneath the lands between, birthing those who live in death. His corpse is the taproot of the game's greatest curse. When you look into his hollow eyes, you're not seeing death. You're seeing immortality turned inside out. Ronnie's betrayal of her own flesh. She kills her body and lives on as a doll. It's quiet but chilling, a form of existential self-mutilation in pursuit of freedom. The Frenzied Villager. I really like to talk about Frenzied Flame and the topic of Frenzied Flame in general. NPCs clawing their own eyes, screaming about flame. A small human-scale horror, but it grounds the cosmic madness in something you can imagine in our own world. Victims of the Frenzied Flame's influence, they gouge their eyes to see truth, their screams echoing the madness of a god that wants to burn reality itself. Found in simple villages, their madness is scarier than cosmic bosses, because it feels possible. Religious mania, neighbor turning on neighbor, entire towns lost to shared hysteria. Disturbance? Their horror at human scale. The apocalypse starts with a single scream in a cottage. And finally, the Dung Eater's ending. If you follow his path, what seemed like an edgy side quest becomes a verdict. The world is condemned to thrive in filth. Not death, not annihilation, something worse. An heirloom of rot passed down until a new generation bakes in the same stain. This ending isn't gory to shock you, it's morally suffocating. It's the knowledge that your choice didn't save anyone, it damned them. You might have called it poetic nihilism, the point is, it's cruelty on a scale larger than any boss. And the sickest part, for many players that ending snuck up like a cough. It doesn't announce itself with fireworks, it unfolds in choices and whispers and the slow acceptance that some paths do not lead home. So there it is, Elden Ring, grandeur and grief braided together. It's a masterpiece of design that can both ooh and unsettle you within the same breath. From the small intimate violation, a stolen body or cruel hug, to the cosmic and the ceremonial, the game is excellent at making you feel tiny, complicit and uneasy. If you enjoyed the breakdown, leave a like. And please subscribe. And before you go, what moment actually kept you awake? Drop it in the comments. Until next time, don't you dare go hollow.